You really can do everything, miss. He must have only recently started dancing, but how can he dance so well? Lisa said with a hint of admiration, putting her hand around Isla's waist. True to her word, Isla seemed quite an expert at ballroom dancing. Of course, it was because they were moves she had already learned in her previous life, but Isla smiled slightly and took the credit for it. It's because my partner is very good at directing. Oh. Lisa laughed at his joke. It was a very lively moment. Except for one person, Laura. She let Byron speak directly to Isla, who seemed downcast, but seeing her so proud made her think it was part of his plan too. Why the hell had he started acting so selfish? Laura attributed it to Lisa. Perhaps Lisa's constant verbal tirades, which had been encouraging Isla, had led to her constant complacency and arrogance. He forgot to control his expression and glared at Lisa, who was pacing the room with Isla. I think it's because of that girl, Lisa, that you've been secretly ignoring me. Laura bit her lower lip. I knew this couldn't go on like this. He had to get that Lisa away from Isla, no matter what. And Isla watched her out of the corner of her eye. Judging by her uneasy expression, it seemed like Laura would make the same mistake she had made before her regression. The next day, Isla told her mother Laura the story during a tea break alone with her. So what you're saying is, Laura, that this girl is going to steal your things and try to frame Lisa? Ophelia asked, rubbing her chin as if she was not entirely satisfied with her daughter's words. As desperate as she was, she couldn't even imagine how Laura would frame an innocent person and try to kick her out. It was a heinous act beyond his imagination. Yeah. I'm not sure, but I think so. Isla nodded and responded. Although she didn't show it, Isla was nervous. He was worried about what he would have to say if his mother asked him how he knew about the plan. But, contrary to his concerns, Ophelia did not ask those questions. I was engrossed in thinking about how to make the most of this opportunity. If Laura is caught doing something like that, we could kick her out of this mansion. That would make your life easier. When Ophelia smiled and opened her mouth, Isla shook her head slightly. No, we can't kick Laura out of the mansion. She is a spy for Byron and could use her to obtain information about him. A change of contact would be confusing, so Laura must stay at the mansion until we catch him. So what are you planning to do? Ophelia asked, tilting her head, unable to understand what Isla was thinking. That is. Isla lowered her voice and explained her plan. As she finished her story, Ophelia winked at her and smiled as if she were seeing her daughter again. My daughter is quite a woman. You have such crazy ideas. Then you will help me carry out my plan? Isla asked, her face red at the compliment, which didn't seem like a compliment from her mother. Of course. It seems like a good idea, even to me. I'm sure your father would agree, Ophelia responded with a big smile. And that night, she told her husband, Roderick, about Isla's crazy plan. What do you think? Don't you think it's a great plan? But, contrary to what he expected, Roderick's face was not so radiant. He seemed deep in thought, frowning, as if reflecting on something. What's wrong, Roderick? Ophelia asked, pressing her hand to his deeply furrowed forehead. Roderick groaned awkwardly and muttered, It's true, huh? What's happening? Is there a problem? He asked with a broken voice. She couldn't bear the thought of what the hell was making her husband hesitate so much. Roderick scratched his head as if his mind was complicated, and then opened his mouth as if to say, Let it be. Didn't you feel something strange with Isla? What do I mean? Ophelia cocked her head as if she didn't understand what her husband was saying. That, this time too. How did Isla know about that girl, Laura's plans? I'm not sure, but I think he said it was likely. If Laura had told Isla her plans, she wouldn't have said she wasn't sure. Of course, given Laura's personality, It was unlikely that she would share her plans with Isla. At his words, Ophelia finally felt uncomfortable and grimaced. Now that I hear it, it's true. But, you said this time too, right? Are you implying that there were other strange things besides this? Yes, there have been a few times. Roderick nodded and began to talk about the things that had seemed strange to him. It happened when I went to the territory. It is definitely the first time I tell this story, but the girl said she had already heard me say the same thing. Isla said it was just a misunderstanding, but it bothered me. As soon as he began to think about it, even the words and actions he had ignored before began to seem strange to him. It was the same when he told her about Suki and Sidio. At first, he said he couldn't remember anything because he was so young, but when he told her about the scorpion tattoo, she confided and said it was definitely Suki and Sidio. Somehow, he felt that it was meaningless. Ophelia also thought it was strange after hearing his story. Something too mature for his age, or something that has neat handwriting that takes a lot of time and effort to achieve. She knew one reason why these uncomfortable feelings might arise. But, like a hazy fog hanging over his mind, the answer felt distant. Ophelia sighed, pressing her temples. His head was in a state of confusion. I know what you mean. But she said she would tell me everything one day. That is. So, wait, together. Be patient. He smiled weakly. Let's wait. That was all they could do. Laura, what's wrong with you? Does something hurt you? You don't look good, Lisa asked worriedly. Laura seemed unmotivated all day. Oh, I just don't feel well. My stomach hurts a little, Laura responded weakly, rubbing her lower abdomen. It didn't hurt much, it was just a farce to buy time and clear things up. But Lisa, who had no way of knowing Laura's dark intentions, lowered her eyebrows and opened her mouth as if sorry. Oh, what do I do? How about I go to your room to rest today? Is that okay with you, miss? Yeah? Yes, of course. Laura, go early and get some rest. When Lisa mentioned her, Isla nodded and let Laura leave early. Of course, Isla knew Laura was pretending, but she allowed it to set her up. How exciting it would be to fall into the trap you set for yourself to bring Lisa down. So, I'm sorry, but I'll go in first, miss. Laura left the room, feigning pain until the end. He planned to sneak into Isla's closet, avoiding everyone's attention, and steal her valuables. And Isla, who was looking at her back like that, smiled and said to Lisa, Lisa, could you run a message for me? Go to my mother and tell her that what I told you is ready. Oh, yes, of course. I'll be right back, miss. He left the room without delay at Isla's command. When Lisa came out, Isla, who was left alone, smiled widely. I just had to wait. And at that moment, Laura, who had left the room pretending to be sick, hid behind a pillar in the hallway, near Isla's closet. As it was a place where many precious jewels were kept, the knights guarding the mansion patrolled frequently. As expected, he peeked out and looked in front of the closet, and saw a gentleman staring down the hallway. Why are you patrolling now, precisely? The moment is. Laura bit her lip and waited for the gentleman to leave. And then Lester, the butler, appeared in the hallway. He frowned and stared at the scene. It was difficult enough to get through without even shaking off a single gentleman, and now a butler appeared. He even wondered if today would be the day. But the butler was not an obstacle for her, but a help. Of course, I didn't mean to. Your Excellency seeks you, Sir Cyanal. The Duchess? He disappeared, taking with him the gentleman guarding the hallway in front of the closet. It was a golden opportunity for Laura. She checked several times that no one was watching her and slowly walked to the closet,